Hello everyone, welcome back. So this episode is probably going to be one of the more important episode in this series. I'm gonna show you a lot about using photo elements as textures, and actually I'm gonna use photo element to replace one of the building in the scene. So it should be a lot of fun. But here I'm trying to just paint more details in the foreground. I believe the crack in the hole, I don't feel like it's to the details, to the degree of details that I wanted to yet. So I just have painting a little bit more crack, adjusting the value a little bit. And basically, when I paint the crack, I'm just adding a bunch of dark and light, essentially. Um, it's funny that's how human eye kind of perceive everything. We're not painting an actual scene. For me, I'm just painting light and dark. You put a little bit of highlight next to the crack, and the crack just pops out. Even when you kind of zoom in 100%, it's sometimes it doesn't make that much sense, but when you zoom out at the level that you should be viewing, everything kind of comes together. It's the beauty of the painting. So just make another hole. I think one huge hole and a few crack doesn't really do it, so I just make another hole. I just put some like really subtle value inside the hole, so it kind of suggests that there is something in there. So it's just not like a flat black value there. I just add a little bit more realism. So a little bit more highlight here and there to pop out the form. And all this little stuff, little details really helps. To me, it really helps the believability of the painting. Okay, and zooming out, try to check if everything looks good. Again, overall picture is more important than those little details here and there. It's really easy to bog down to the little details and forget the whole pictures. So, flipping back and forth once in a while, zoom out, and sometimes even, when I kind of take a break, I just kind of sit it there and I just walk across the room and see how it looks like, in the far distance. So right now, I'm trying to slow down a lot more and redefine the silhouette of the foreground building. So what I had is really too rough, and it doesn't really make sense. So I try to really redesign the silhouette a little bit more. So kind of just break up that straight line so it doesn't look too straight. I mean, it is kind of destroyed and beat up. Also start to paint some black over the windows to suggest that the windows actually missing or breaking and things like that. Again, right now we're really getting to the details, but I'll show you a little bit how some details are done, but I'll probably skip some parts of it because painting detail takes a long time, and for the sense of a whole picture, it doesn't do that much difference. So if you zoom out, before I putting a lot of details and after, there's actually not that much going on, like in terms of the whole picture. Like adding more crack on the bottom, like columns, like especially in the corner area. And this is a part where your visual library and how often do you study the world around you really pays off. Because even though I kind of paint those out subconsciously, I'm pretty sure in my mind, or in any artist's mind, when they're painting something like this, what they remember how things look like really come into play, and how much you remember how real how real you can make it is really it's really affected by your visual library. It's really affected by your knowledge of things around you, things in the world. So if you're still learning, just like me, I really strongly recommend that you slow down some time, to the world around you and really study them. Because the corner area right now, the crack, to me personally, I believe is a very interesting area because um, sometimes corner when things hit the building, the corner of the building, it kind of things got chipped off. And here I'm adding some vegetations kind of hanging down, which you see a lot when you see like older buildings, or especially those desolated building in like a jungle area, some kind of vegetation, some grass kind of draping down, kind of hanging around, and just that little touch of detail that really makes a difference when people are looking at more up close. It definitely add a lot more believability, because when people looking at it, they're not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I recognize this." The artist must have a really rich visual library. They're not gonna appreciate it in a sense, like like we do, like we artists do. But they're gonna feel that, oh yeah, it's believable. It's those little details they might not notice. Um, the difference like consciously, but subconsciously when they receive the image, they're gonna feel it's more real. They're gonna feel that they're gonna like it more. So I'm adding another photo elements, and actually just to add a little bit more background buildings, because right now the background building is only two, which doesn't really make sense for like a crowded city. So I just bring in other photos to add a little bit more buildings. And since they're gonna be on the back, they don't have to be like super details. So I can play around with the scale and try to match the perspective. So when I add another building using photo elements, I always try to check the perspective with the line tool. And since I already create two vanishing points with the guide, and they pretty much snap on it, so it's really easy to create like a lot of construction line for perspective. So in Photoshop, if you understand perspective, it's very easy. Actually, it's very hard to mess it up, because if you understand how perspective work, it should be a breeze to set things up. I mean, at least the very basic of it. So I select a side of the building and trying to just tweak it by using free transformation, and holding down control and kind of pinch one corner and make them fit the perspective a little bit more. And that's where the power of Photoshop lies, manipulating photos, image, and to make it to fit your need. Again, make the photo work for you. Because not every time you can find a perfect photo that in a perfect perspective. But if there's a little section that you can use, you can manipulate it a little bit to the degree that you want to. So I'm still kind of messing around and trying to find try to find a composition that works for me. A composition, there's some theories of composition, Forcer, golden section, and things like that, but it's really how people look at it, how people like it. Like a lot of time, things like composition is really an intuitive thing. Sometimes it's hard to really explain everything in like a scientific sense. At least that's not really me. I don't really try to explain everything in a scientific sense. Sometimes things just feels right. Even though we have a lot of those rules for composition, there's some painting they break it. They break every rules of the composition, and somehow it still work. Sometimes it works very well, But it's good to know those rules, because it's there's this old saying that got to know the rules to break it, which is definitely true for art. So double checking all the haze and value again. So again, I come back again and try to mess with the haze and the value again, because constantly as I put in more details, I feel that okay, yeah, maybe things should be hazed out, things should be pushed back again, and maybe a little bit I kind of change my mind. Yeah, maybe I should kind of pull them back out a little bit more. So again, you're gonna see me doing this kind of back and forth. So adding a little bit more light in the midground buildings. I apologize for all this video are being so long. Even though they're sped up for like 300%, I still kind of afraid that all these videos are really long, because I work kind of slow actually. I mean, I will try to work as fast as I can, but especially things like this, when you start to put into detail and things like that, it takes the most time. You're just kind of hand painting some of the buildings on the back. They're way in the background, way in the distance, so only the silhouette that matters. In terms of value, we only need like really subtle a little bit of value. And when we hand paint stuff like this on the background, sometimes it actually helps to bring that kind of organic to it, and also because it's seen on the background, you don't need to be super detailed and everything's super clear. So it's a fun thing to do, just painting a little bit stuff in the distance. Anyways, back to painting details. So painting detail is kind of relaxing, but at the same time it can get really boring, because after the initial layout stage, you feel like something might be there, and it's kind of dynamic and things like that. When you actually go into define all that, it takes your knowledge of visual library and how much you understand the things around you, but at the same time you're starting to staring at the same painting for like hours and hours and hours, and sometimes you really need to kind of push yourself past the boring part of it. So I find another photos of these buildings, again not in the right perspective, but I want to use it because I feel that the original 3D rendering, I don't really like it. I like the position of the building, but not the style of the building, and the lack of detail is not really it's not really working for me. So I just bring out another photo and basically doing the same thing. So I print it in, kind of cut it out roughly, adjusting the color so it fits into the scene. It's kind of tough because the building itself is blue. So to match into the scene and still keep that kind of blue tint to it, it's kind of tough. Something very important, I have to kind of flip it around so the lighting match. So when you bring in a bunch of different photo elements, really we need to make sure that their lighting match. Okay, if their lighting doesn't match, things gonna fall apart because people will notice that. Even though sometimes people even can't even tell if the lighting is correct, but they'll feel something's wrong. So again, kind of separate two sides so I can manipulate their perspective kind of individually. So adjusting another side. Okay. Gonna make them a little bit transparent so I can try to match to the buildings, the 3D render of the building that I had. Okay, so looking nice right now. I just do a little bit fine tuning. Try to play around with the scale too. Think that might, maybe we can try to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit taller. But obviously I'll need to adjust the perspective a little bit again. So again, do like a selection tool, and Control T for free transformation, and hold down Control and drag any of the corner point. You can start to pinch. You can start to pinch the image and to fit into perspective. So I use hue, saturation, and colorize, and kind of try to colorize that a little bit more. Again, try to adjust more colors. I kind of struggle a little bit to try to find that coolish tint, and at the same time the color scheme kind of fits into the whole painting, so it doesn't pop out, because you don't want this individual building to pop out and people are gonna feel that, okay, this doesn't really feel like part of the scene. So just trying to paint out a little bit more stuff that I don't need. So just kind of redefine the mask a little bit more and being a little bit more details and working on the silhouette a little bit more. Again, doing another color adjustment. Sometimes I need to do like color adjustment over and over again to get that really nice coloring going on. Adding a little layer of colors, to kind of tint it. Later on, I find out it feels a little bit too contrasty. But after put all this paint over back in, I start to feel coming a little bit more together. So right now I try to define things a little bit more, because I don't want to just painting a bunch of trees, painting a bunch of trees there and call it a day, because I want more details. I want more things going on in especially the middle, the main focus. This 3 buildings in the middle. We want some details that's really working, that's making them interesting, and making people kind of focus there. So at this point, I start to really focus on on the main buildings where people are gonna focus on the most, or where people's eyes gonna go to the first, like the middle part and this tall building. Again, start to rack this building a little bit. I'm gonna rack the building a little bit and start to messing around with the silhouette, because it shouldn't be perfectly straight and clean. Okay, that's the thing about 3D modeling, 3D rendering that I had. It's perfectly clean, which doesn't make sense for this scene. So breaking a little bit of the top of the buildings. And using lasso tool can really create some kind of organic yet clean shape. Okay, now I started breaking the windows. So what I did is I choose a value, probably not straight black, but the value that that's dark enough, and I just kind of either using selection tool and just hold down shift and paint the whole row dark, and kind of come back in with like solid eraser and erase some stuff away. Later on you'll notice that you even use the lasso tool to make some clean cut. Here I might using the lasso tool, like inverse the selection and erase them out, so you get some really clean cut. So when the window is breaking, there's some sharp edges and stuff kind of randomly going around. That's what I'm trying to achieve here. And obviously I need to use some dirt texture to dirty things up. I used to try to find like a texture for dirt, on like a concrete wall or whatever, just to add some textures there, until I found this dirt brush that it delivers really nice result, and it save a lot of times, which is very useful. But again, they're just tools. You need to understand why you use it. You're not like putting dirt everywhere and expect things to work, right? Like things build, dirt are mostly present when it close to ground, because maybe wind blows or something like that, and dirt and dust kind of blow up, and they kind of stick on the surface of the building. So after I putting some dirt, you're gonna notice that like right now I'm trying to erase some of the dirt on the top of the building, because on the top of the building there's gonna be less dirt. It's not gonna be as dirty because it's high up on the air. Okay, and try to adjust the value a little bit by painting in some more haze. It gets a little bit too contrasty for me. Making another color dodge layer to add a little bit more light. So adding a little bit more dirt and texture to break that cleanness. Again, see, I go back to the same building again and I kind of adjust the color again. And here's the part I start to try to do more design on the trees and vegetation that grows out from the building more. Since these two buildings are kind of so close together, this tall building and the building that I used the photo reference to, since they're these three buildings in the middle, since they're so close together, and I'm start to imagine maybe some trees kind of grow in between the two buildings, and this building creates a really nice kind of platform for like a little forest grow on top, a little jungle grow on top of it. Again, visual library, and this is very, very important. If you're looking at, if you watch movie a lot, and traveling around, even just things around you, really study them, and you're gonna make believable design. People will think it's cool because they can relate. Okay, I'm coming back using tree brush, but now I try to use it at like 100%, and right now I'm just really trying to define the silhouette now. And the tree brush definitely helped because it gives me a really strong silhouette for trees, and kind of random as well. Later I'm gonna bring a photo texture on top of it to just bring out that details. Okay, adding some more trees here and there. Now I start to really think about where I'm gonna put those trees and how their shape's gonna be like. Okay, using the bush brush that I made, just add some different colors, variations on top. I bring in photos of like a wrecked building. I put it in the soft light mode. A lot of time I use soft light layer mode instead of overlay, because overlay kind of push the contrast a little bit too much. So in the soft light mode, I put it there. I kind of like it. I want to use it as the base of this building, which worked quite nicely, I have to say. When I bring it in, I didn't really have in mind where should I put it until I kind of place it there, and I thought, now that works really well as a base. So there's some kind of wreckage on the floor, some grass as well, and the perspective actually feels really nicely. So I paint beneath the layer like a lighter color, so the texture can show through. Again, the photo element, photo texture is on soft light mode, so I paint something like a lighter color beneath. So I create another layer beneath that layer and just paint some lighter color, and the texture will show through a lot better. And here's the point, I really feel that, okay, yeah, just some interesting things going on. So I bring in other photos of the tree. This tree has a really beautiful, like, complicated root. So I'm definitely gonna use that. Okay, so when I bring in these photos, right away I know that where I'm gonna put it. And this is the part where I really think about the design, this little details of designs. So maybe this huge tree grow inside of this building, and they branch out like through the windows and things like that, because tree they need sunlight, right? The branches are seeking sunlight, but the root is the root is in the bottom. And the crack I paint kind of gave me the idea, because a lot of time when you see this huge crack, even though I didn't show it, but maybe there's some waters in the bottom, because usually underground layer of a city are like sewers and things like that, so there's a lot of waters, so trees probably grow from there, the root is from there, and through the buildings branches out looking for sunlight. So there's a lot of things, a lot of thinking behind all this design, even though I didn't really pause the whole thing and really think about it. It's in the back of my mind. So when designing something, again, the more you understand, the more interesting design you can make. Yeah, I'm not saying I have a really rich visual library. I'm actually still trying to build my visual library. Some really good concept artists like Feng Zhu and people like them, they have really crazy visual library. They just come up with the idea that at the same time it's believable. It's like, I've seen that before, but it's still really different, that you feel fresh. So here am I just grabbing some photo elements, textures for the tree. So here's a bunch of trees, and again I just apply a layer mask, take it out, and paint the stuff back out. Again, using the tree brush to kind of bring that, to give me that interesting silhouette. right now that photos the value of that tree is super bright, so I need to adjust it. Also, it's really green, so I kind of need to adjust it to this warm tone. You can add those trees to break your value. Your overall value is still very important. There's an airplane or like helicopter flying through right now, so I don't know if you hear that noise. I apologize. There's no way I can tell you to stop. Yeah, I live around places that has all sorts of noise. When there's like spring season, there's like a bunch of coyote. I don't know if they're mating or something. They're just kind of howling like randomly in the middle of the night. It's quite creepy the first time when I hear it when I was a kid, and now I just feel it's kind of funny and kind of annoying sometimes. Just some random information about where I live. It's it's 6:30 right now when I'm recording this voiceover. Actually, I do it as separate because I can't really paint and try to speak at the same time. Plus the video is sped up, so I need to do the voiceover afterwards. But it's 6:30 in the morning right now. I actually woke up around like 5 or something trying to do this because I want some quiet environment. I got 2 kids. They're like super energetic. They make all sorts of noise. So a lot of time when I start to work on this kind of stuff, I need to wake up in the middle of the night so I can kind of zone out myself and get into the working mode. So it's not easy working at home actually because there's all sorts of distractions. But it's definitely nice to work at home because it's more flexible. Okay, working full-time freelance, you sometimes you don't get any job for like maybe like 2 months, and you start to worry. Oh man, is there gonna be more job coming up? Running out of money, and maybe next month like 4 job come up to you like at once. So a lot of times kind of starvation or feast. So it's not really predictable sometimes when you're doing full-time freelance. So that's why I'm kind of still building my portfolio and trying to look for like a full-time job in the industry. Okay, so same thing for this building. I'm kind of racking it and kind of break the building apart, creating holes, crack, breaking the windows. Actually, those holes are gonna help me later on to decide where I'm gonna put the trees in, because these holes are naturally the place where the tree branches are gonna grow out from. Because first is a hole, trees are get to grow out because they're seeking sunlight. Bring the same texture we use for the other tree and try to use it again here. We just need a texture. Okay, even though it's the same photos, because the silhouette is different, because the value is different, you're not gonna notice much. You're not gonna say, oh, it's the same photo, you use it here and there. I mean, that doesn't really matter much. So again, using the tree brush to give a nice silhouette of this tree that I'm trying to do. A little bit paint over here and there. Again, try to mess around with the silhouette of the tree. Again, silhouette is something that is really important in this sort of painting, because silhouette is the first thing that people will probably see. Like, people see shapes, and if the silhouette works well, if it's well designed, people will notice. Okay, kind of colorize a little bit, put a new layer, make it color layer mode, and start painting some like this like brownish color. trying to add a little bit of shadows because with a tree kind of sticking out, it does block some light. So creating a shadow here will actually help integrate this tree and the building a little bit more, so feel like they're interacting, because the tree does sit on the surface and it does block out some light. So I'm trying to add another tree here, and try to adjust the, try to mess with the position where the photo texture is looking in. You want to tilt it a little bit or something like that, to kind of just to break that pattern. Because as random as I try to make this, I still afraid people will see patterns. Because we human, we try to find patterns. We try to find orders in the middle of chaos. So at this point, if you compare this to where we start off with, it really goes a long way. But we are not done yet. So at this point, here's the point that I feel that okay, it's leading to something I think is nice, but I already work on hours and hours on this piece, and I'm kind of tired. It's kind of draining. I really need to try to motivate myself to do it. So take a break here and there, but just need to keep going. And I actually I stop at the point where I feel this has enough detail, but I still consider that a nice sort of matte painting-ish concept art, but not exactly like full-on matte painting, because a lot of details are still kind of scribbled in. But there's enough detail for people to see and for people to believe. Actually, that's what I hope I can achieve. Okay, just designing the shadow shape on that building a little bit, because we're adding some trees now, so it's not going to be just a really clean diagonal line. There's going to be some tree shape, tree silhouette shape shadow. Okay, again adjusting some overall value and color. Okay, so we stopped this video at this point. So as you can see, this is how I kind of adding to more like photorealistic details. Again, by using photos. You can say I'm cheating, but again, result matters, and we want to try to achieve that result as efficient as possible. And for doing painting like this, it's not really how well you can render out individual leaves and branches, it's how well you can composite things together. So even though we're using photo elements, the skill that is really lying on is really depend on how well you can use that photo and make it into your scene, that fits right into your scene. So that's something matte painters do a lot. Sometimes concept artists do a lot. So not everything have to paint out by hand, at least I don't believe so, but this definitely help. So I think after this video I'll probably skip like a couple hours of work, because I don't think I need to repeatedly showing you how do I put a trees in and things like that. I think I showed enough already. So next video we'll jump at a point where that we're probably like 80% finished and things like that. So hope it's helpful. Again, leave comment and give me your feedback. It is my very first tutorial sort of thing, so any comment, any constructive criticism is welcome here. So let me know how you guys like it, and subscribe if you think it's helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.